Microsoft has now officially confirmed price increases across the board from the Xbox Series S console to the Xbox Series X console and accessories in addition to the games. Games are going to be confirmed to hit $80 this holiday season. So the next big Call of Duty or Fable, Perfect Dark, you could expect to probably pay $80 for those if you're not part of the Xbox Game Pass service. On top of that, the system itself, the accessories, are jumping up in price, anywhere from $70, $80 or so at the low end to $100 plus at the high end, depending on what model system that you are getting. And it's almost impossible to not try to rope in Nintendo with this or try to rope in other companies overall. We can look at it from a base standpoint, like, okay, this is definitely not good. This is not good for the consumer overall. Prices are going up. Inflation is hitting like Mike Tyson in the 80s, and things are just getting more and more pricier. And we know that it's bad because Microsoft, when it comes to the Xbox Series S and the X, these are the worst selling systems. These are the worst when it comes to the current generation of platforms. Even the Nintendo Switch, that's 8+ years old, has sold better than the Xbox Series in terms of current sales, right? So it's not like Microsoft is putting up crazy numbers or anything. So, okay, we can actually raise the price because people are buying it so much. That's how bad it is right now with the tariffs and the inflation and the cost of development. In order to sustain, they felt that they needed to do this. They actually put out a statement saying that after careful consideration, so for all of the people that are trying to blame maybe Mario Kart World being 80 or Nintendo, don't do that because they've been thinking about this for a while and it wasn't made as a knee-jerk reaction to anything else. They've looked at the layoffs that they've had. They've looked at the issues. They've looked at the prices of things going up, the salaries, what they need for human resources, and they decided that this was the best course of action overall. And if anything, maybe even get a surge in Xbox Game Pass subscriptions because of the price of games are going up. But I would expect Xbox Game Pass to go up in price as well sometime in the next year or so, maybe even sooner. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I'm going to put up a snapshot right here so you guys can see exactly what's happening with the Xbox consoles. And as you can see, $299 to $379. You can see the Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Special Edition went up from $599 to $729 more than the base price of the PlayStation 5 Pro. This is how you know that the tariffs and the situation is just bad. This system is nowhere near as strong as the PlayStation 5 Pro, yet it is above it in price. That means that there is a manufacturing tariff economy situation. Has nothing to do with really anything else when it comes down to it. There is a huge problem at this point, and I don't know if it's going to get any better anytime soon. This is going to be a huge issue overall. But what isn't going to be a huge issue is all the people that are not subscribed to the channel hitting that subscribe button. So hit that sub button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. Now, let's go over the statement that Microsoft gave to IGN. Quote, "We understand that these changes are challenging and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and ensuring value for Xbox players." And I think that's where, when I talked about how, hey, you know what, maybe more people sign up for Xbox Game Pass after this. But if we look at here, they didn't say what first-party games are going to be $80 overall. These price increases are effective immediately when it comes to the system itself. So if you bought an Xbox Series X or if you bought an Xbox Series S beforehand, congratulations. Like if you got one before the price jumps, there you go. If you really wanted one, you got one beforehand. If you look at this here, what they said, that's clearly it. Microsoft has had layoffs overall. They've had issues. So they probably felt this was the only scenario with the tariff situation and with the inflation situation that was going to be able to save jobs or going to be able to sustain things. Because if they didn't do this, they might have more layoffs in Xbox or they might have more problems overall because of what's happening with these import fees and everything. So let's talk about the ramifications because, like I said, it's almost impossible to not bring up Nintendo with this. You know, I would love to just talk about it individually and all of that, but when it came to what we saw with Mario Kart World and just $80 price tag. Now, I know that some people were upset about the actual system price for the Nintendo Switch 2, depending on what country you're in. But for the most part, a lot of the rage or the outrage was directed at Mario Kart World being 80. Now, I saw multiple major content creators with 1 million plus subs or more lay into it. I saw countless videos of people saying that Mario Kart World is not worth the $80 price tag. And now we're seeing it at this point to where all of the first party games from Microsoft are going to be $80. And the system price has increased significantly across the board. So are we going to see the same level of energy overall? For the consumer, it's terrible. That obviously doesn't matter. I want to make sure that I'm very clear with this. I don't like prices going up. I don't want to see the consumer have to pay more money. It's very unfortunate that this is happening the way that it is, but just like many aspects of everything when it comes down to the economy, everything is going up. So I don't like that at all. But as a content creator, you definitely don't want to see hypocrisy, and you don't want to see people having rules for some and then not rules for others. So I think the whole "I told you so" part here, we have to discuss it, because it started with Mario Kart World, and now we have a plethora of price increases when it comes down to it. Because remember, Nintendo did not increase the price of the Switch Lite or the Switch OLED or the Switch version 1 or anything like that. They didn't do that. And the Nintendo Switch 2 price is $450. It's $100 above the OLED price and significantly stronger overall. Nothing is significantly stronger unless they change the chips somehow with the manufacturing process. Nothing is significantly stronger here, yet they're upping the price more than what we saw when it comes down to it. Now remember, tariffs are hitting here. So Nintendo did a good job of moving the manufacturing of a lot of stuff from China to Vietnam, so they can maybe get a little bit of a break on that, which not even a little bit. They did. They anticipated it, and they kind of foresaw what was happening. So the tariff isn't too bad, and they're able to retain the price of the Nintendo Switch 2. But this right here, Microsoft was not able to adjust in time. There just wasn't any time. And a lot of this manufacturing, once again, is done in China. So will we see the same amount of energy from some of these content creators? I saw, once again, content creators with millions of subscribers sit there and blast up and down, left and right, that $80 price tag, and blast the price of the system and just say that nobody should buy this at all. And obviously that turned out to be, funny, because people still went out and pre-ordered the system anyway when it comes down to it. But what will the reaction be across the board? What will the reaction be from content creators? And will we see that same thing here? And if you look at it from a Sony perspective, I think that the prices are going to increase with Sony. The PS5 Pro is $700. I mean, you guys don't think that the next PlayStation 6 is not going to be at least a bare minimum of that, if not way more? I mean, I'm not even sure how they do it. They have to drop the price on the PlayStation 5 Pro for it to look good in comparison to the PlayStation 6. But the reports are coming out, at least just the initial rumors, that it's going to be 2027 for the PlayStation 6. So I don't think things are going to get way cheaper in terms of the manufacturing, the process from China or anything at this point. Maybe tariffs will go down, but I don't think anything's going to get significantly cheaper. So the prices, when it comes down to it, it is going to be crazy. I had so many people coming to my stream telling me that I'm chilling, damage controlling, defending this and that over it, when I was simply just trying to explain the economic situation overall. However, I always was steadfast in saying that I don't like the increase to $80 in terms of price, but at the same time, like, this just might be the start of what is going on because of the economy, and we're seeing that here. So we'll see when it comes to some of these creators and what's going on, because I saw so many videos. Let's see if that actually happens here with the amount, I would say, of venom that I saw in some of these overall. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section. But now we're going to move on to the next topic here, discussing the Nintendo eShop and how they changed exactly how the eShop charts work compared to what it was before. So Nintendo did change the way the charts are compiled. Previously, they did count the number of copies sold over the past 48 hours to create a list of best-selling games. But now going forward, the Nintendo eShop charts will focus on revenue acquired across the previous 72 hours. This is a way, seemingly, to basically keep the cheap shovelware off of the top of the charts that was cluttering the top 10 all the time. But some of these changes might affect the really good indie games that do well, but obviously don't make as much revenue as the other titles. So it's one of those things to where maybe it's almost impossible to balance. If you do it based off of units sold, you're going to have a lot of developers that just drop the price all the way to $1 or something like that, get up on the eShop to where people can see their game and get more notoriety. But then again, at the same time, you change that and you make it to where it's just revenue, then the titles that are big, the big first party titles, the big titles that, people are playing, that could bury some of the smaller games that are maybe $10 or $15 or $20 because they'd have to sell 3 or 4 copies of their game to hit the same revenue as a $60 game or a $70 game, right? Plus, so that's the only problem. But I'm not really sure if there's any type of all-purpose fix when it comes down to it. Maybe you can display all of it, so revenue, units sold, and like you can have it organized, or maybe you can have separate charts. There's all sorts of things, that people have said overall, but I think that this way, it's unfortunate for some of the indie developers, but I do think that it's going to create a lot of, I would say, clarity with the top selling games, or at least the games that people are saying, okay, we're not cheating our way to get to the top of the sales charts for exposure with our shovelware game or whatever the case is, right? So what do you guys think about this big change? Let me know in the comment section. But now we're going to move on to the final topic here. And I'm not a big stock guy. I don't really talk about the stock at all, the current situation. But I do think that with Nintendo actually having their stock at a current all-time high, I think that is a direct result of the pending success of the Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes to the launch of the system. What we've seen is historic all-time pre-orders, and we've also had analysts state that this could be the biggest launch of all time for any system, beating out the PlayStation 4 that had 4.5 million in the first month or so. So the Nintendo Switch 2 is currently projected to potentially be at 6 million to 8 million. So that would be huge. That would be the biggest launch of all time. You combine that with just the pre-orders and everyone just being excited and hyped for the large lineup of games that are coming out this year. I think that's what's causing Nintendo's stock to blow up like we see it blowing up at this point. And of course, more money going into the company. Obviously, that's going to be reinvested into the development of games, going to be reinvested into the development of different features and stuff for the system. And of course, paying all their employees and making sure everything runs efficiently and good overall. Nintendo did a pretty big investment with the Nintendo Switch 2. This is probably their biggest investment because of how long the system took to actually make overall, how they really dedicated a ton of time into actually putting in better graphical capabilities and features and some future proofing with NVIDIA G-Sync, a VRR screen, 120 frames per second refresh rate. Like, these are all the things that Nintendo has lacked to do in the past when it comes down to it. Even stuff like 3D audio, HDR, these are things that you would never really associate with Nintendo, and they actually took the time, effort, and money to invest into this system in order to get it done. Obviously, Nintendo's had huge stock spikes in terms of the increasing, and that money's been coming in to actually invest back into the games. There's a huge lineup of titles. We've gotten 100+ titles on the Nintendo Switch 1. I think we're going to get a ton of titles on the Nintendo Switch 2. So while I'm not a super stock person and looking into it, the business side, it is what it is. If you want to talk about what's practically coming out of this, you can look at the money that's going into it and saying, okay, that's being reinvested into getting us a better quality system than what we've got in the past, getting us better quality Joy-Cons, the smooth gliding sticks, whatever you want to talk about, the revamped Pro Controller, all of that, and also making sure that everybody at the company does keep their jobs and all of that, and we don't have mass layoffs. So Nintendo's not perfect overall. There's definitely things, that I don't like. We've talked about those numerous times overall in the live streams and all that, but I do feel that them doing this well is a sign of how well the Nintendo Switch 2 is actually going to do when it hits the market, especially with these price increases. Man, it makes the Nintendo Switch 2 actually look pretty affordable at this point, especially with these big price increases with Microsoft. But what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to everything? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, check out my other videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.